start the practice today in a comfortable seated position. So bringing yourself down onto your mat and taking a cross-legged seat if that's comfortable, having a bit of a shuffle around, making sure that the body is as comfortable as it can be. You might sit on a cushion or on a blanket, and then allowing the attention to move inwards to the sensations of the sitting bones and the feet on the floor. You might gently close the eyes or take a soft gaze as you notice the feeling of the body and how your body is feeling today. So every time we come to practice, the body will have a different energy, different feelings, different sensations. I invite you to be curious about your body in this moment. And then you might allow the attention to gently come to the breath, to that movement of air coming in and going out of the body. You might feel the sense of expansion on the inhale and the sense of grounding and releasing on the exhale. And allowing there to be this ebb and flow of your breath. And without needing to try and change it or do anything fancy with the breath, just notice and allow it to be an anchor for your attention. And then bringing the attention back to points of contact with the floor underneath you, to that sense of your body. We're going to bring a little bit of movement into the body, so you might flutter the eyes open, and on the next inhale we're going to circle the arms, so sweeping the arms up and round, taking the gaze up towards the ceiling if that feels okay in your neck. And then turning the hands and allowing the arms to float down like feathers through the air. Let them touch down on the floor, feel that sense of groundedness, then turning the hands again and sweeping all the way up. So you feel that expansion, inhaling coming up, that releasing, that coming back down to the earth as the arms float back down. As you inhale, feeling the energy rise. And on the exhale, let the arms be like feathers in the air, gently floating all the way back down. And the palms come back down to the floor. We're going to sweep the arms up and round one more time. And this time when you get to the top, take a gentle pause. And then we're going to find a twisting motion. So bring the left arm to the right thigh. The right hands come to the floor behind, maybe just onto the fingertips. You can use the inhale to find length through the spine, and the exhale maybe twist a little bit over the right shoulder. Then coming back to the center, reaching the arms up, finding that length out of the lower back. And then taking the twist to the other side, the right arm crosses to the left thigh. We find that length in the inhale and a little bit more twist in the exhale. And then coming back to center, reaching the arms up, let the palms touch overhead, then draw them down in front of the chest. And take a clasp of the fingers here. And we'll find a waving movement into the wrists and the elbows. Let this be nice and flowing. And then gently pressing the hands away so the palms are facing away from you. And we'll send the arms all the way up, finding some length into the side body and the armpits. And you might give the face a little bit of a wiggle here, just relaxing in the jaw. And then releasing the arms, let them float all the way back down. We're going to find a side body stretch here. So reaching the arms all the way up and over. And then coming back through center, bringing the hand to the floor and reaching over to the other side. And then coming again back through center. And we'll send the legs straight out in front of us. This is our staff pose. So we want to find a nice straight spine here. And it might help to sit on a blanket or a cushion. It could be nice to bring a little bit of space between the legs so we're not squeezing the legs together. And the hands might come onto the thighs, or you might take the hands onto the floor beside you. Just making sure that you're not leaning too far back here. So we're using the hands on the floor or the legs to find that sense of lift up through the spine. And we're going to find some circles here into the ankles. So imagining that you are drawing circles with your big toe. And we're keeping the legs as still as possible, so the movement is really isolated into the ankle joints. And then taking the circles in the other direction and really being curious, exploring the feelings and sensations in the body here. And then bringing the ankles to some stillness. We're going to draw the right knee in towards the body, keeping that nice integrity through the spine. We take a clasp behind the right thigh, and we're just going to play with straightening through that leg and then bending it back in. Now you might slide it along the floor, you might lift it a couple of inches up above the floor, or you might even play with a sense of exploring how high you want to lift this leg. And for this last time, we're going to extend the leg out straight. You can keep the hands on the thigh, or you might even reach the hands towards the foot. A little bit stronger version here. We're going to hold it for 3, 2, and 1. Lower the leg down and give the legs a shake up and down and side to side. Fabulous. Finding that length through the spine again here. We're going to draw the left knee in this time, pulling it in towards the body. Take a clasp, maybe with the other finger on top behind the left thigh. And we're going to touch that foot down to the floor and again explore as we bend and straighten into this knee. I invite you to really listen to your body. So as you explore how high you want to lift this, don't feel under pressure to lift it as high as it will go. That might not be the right thing for your body today. So exploring, lifting it up, higher or not. Then we're going to reach the hands towards the foot. Holding it for 3, 2, and 1. Releasing that leg down and giving the legs a little bit of a shake. Up and down and side to side. We're going to come forward and through here into a hands and knees position. So you might cross the legs and come through that way. If that doesn't work for your body, find a different way of getting into this position. We're going to have wide fingers. The shoulders are in a straight line over the wrists. The hips are in a straight line over the knees. We find our cat and cow as we draw the belly into the spine. And then release the belly down, finding some opening through the front body. And you might gently lift the head here as well. And then drawing the belly into the spine and the chin to the chest. We find a rounding into the spine. And then releasing the belly down, lengthening through the spine here. And you can flow between these two shapes. So you can bring the breath in, inhaling as the belly comes down and the head lifts. Exhaling as you draw the navel into the spine. And being really playful here, just noticing, feeling into the sensation. So we're not trying to get a perfect version of these shapes, we're just using these shapes as a way of exploring the body. And you might explore that syncing of breath and movement, but sometimes that's not that comfortable, so just see what feels good in your body. We're going to step the hands a hand width further in front here, so setting up for our downward facing dog, we're going to tuck the toes underneath and then press the knees up off the floor as we send the hips up high. And I invite you to be very gentle here, so you can walk your dog, which means bending into one leg and straightening into the other leg. And this can be a really nice, gentle way of easing into the position. And this is something I recommend for your first downward facing dog of every practice, is to just find that little bit of softness, bending and straightening, alternating into these legs. And really use this as an opportunity to feel into your body, to have that explore, to notice what's going on in your shoulders, your spine, your legs. And then we're going to start to walk the feet in towards the hands. And let the weight come then onto the feet so the hands can come up off the floor. You might let the arms dangle or take hold of the opposite elbow with each hand. This is our ragdoll forward fold. I recommend having a little bit of a bend into the knees here. Just let there be a bit of softness. What we're allowing is that lengthening of the spine. So gravity is allowing the space to come between the vertebrae. And we're going to release the elbows, bring the hands on top of the feet and start to trace a line up the legs with the hands. We're stacking the vertebrae one on top of the other. Take the shoulders up and back and down the spine, palms shine forward. This is our mountain pose here. Grounding down through the feet, lifting up through the crown of the head. And we find that parallels, that opposites that we so often get in yoga of grounding down and lifting up. We're going to bring the palms to touch in front of the chest and bring the feet in a little bit closer towards each other. So everything's coming in towards the center here. We're going to come up onto the ball of the right foot, so lifting the right heel. And this is setting up for our tree pose. So we want to find a gazing point, something that we can look at that is not moving. In yoga we call this a drishti. And then you might take the knee out to one side, and you might want to stay here with the heel against the other foot, or you might, if you're feeling quite balanced, play with lifting the leg a little bit higher. So we can bring the right foot to the lower inside edge of the left leg, and we want to make sure we're always avoiding the knee joint, so making sure that the heel is fully below the knee here. There is an option to bring the foot up onto the inner thigh, and this is quite a challenging one, so you might play with that, but it's often safer to keep the foot below the knee and find that point of balance there, lifting through the crown of the head, growing the roots down into the floor, and then you might even grow your branches, maybe reaching the arms up. And a little bit of wobbling is okay. We're often going to find that there's wobbling when we balance in yoga. Drawing the hands back down to the heart, releasing the feet, and then just shaking off the arms and the legs. And we'll set up for the other side. So bringing the feet in towards the center, palms come to touch. We're going to come up onto the ball of the left leg. We'll find that drishti, that balancing point. And then we'll bring the knee out to the side. And again, the option here to keep the foot on the floor or to play with lifting that foot and bringing it to the inside of the right leg. And again, as always here, we're avoiding the knee joint. We're finding that sinking down through the feet, the lifting up through the crown of the head, and maybe growing the branches up towards the ceiling. And you might notice it changes the center of balance as we lift the arms up. So it does become a little bit more challenging. We'll draw the hands back to the heart space, release the leg, and give everything a little bit of a shake off again here as we step it back up to the top of the mat. And we'll find our mountain pose, grounding down through the feet, lifting up through the crown of the head. Feet are about a hip width apart, so we've got a good solid base here. And then we're going to take a little bend in the knees as we sweep the arms up and round, palms come up towards the ceiling. Then we're going to dive down, leading with the heart space. We're coming back into that forward fold position. This time bring the hands onto the lower legs or the thighs to find a flat back position. So the head reaches forward and the tailbone behind, and then melting it back down to the floor, bending generously into the knees so we can plant the feet down. We're going to step the knees back one at a time back through that tabletop position. And then we're going to find our child's pose here. So you might keep the knees where they are and send the hips back, or you might explore taking the knees a little bit wider, the feet come together, and then this just creates a little bit more space for the body as we melt the heart space down. And you can play with different arm positions here. So you might want the arms stretched out in front, or you can bring the hands one on top of the other to make a little bit of a pillow for the head. And even stacking maybe the fists one on top of the other, just to bring the ground up towards you a little bit more. So play with how you might like the hands to be here. Find a version that feels as restful and comfortable for you as you can, and then we'll take a few breaths, feeling that sense of groundedness, that support of the earth underneath you, and allowing the body to relax here and to release down into the support of the earth. We're going to walk the hands all the way back up, bring the knees together if you had them apart, so we can take the legs to one side and then send the legs out in front of us again. Check you've got some space behind you, because we're going to come down onto our backs. So the hands might be on the back of the legs or reaching in front. And we tuck the spine, so we're bringing the vertebrae down one at a time. We come all the way down to the floor and then let the arms come out to make a T shape with the arms and the body. We're going to bring the feet in a little bit closer towards the buttocks, and then allow the knees to drop over to the left side, and we're keeping the right shoulder on the floor. So the upper body is facing up to the ceiling here, and the lower body is finding that little bit of a twist. And as much as possible, allowing the body to soften and release here. And then finding an engagement into the core muscles. And then slowly with control, we'll lift the knees all the way back up. And then let the knees drop over to the other side. The feet can stack one on top of the other here. We're keeping both shoulders on the floor. And you might even explore sending the breath down into the belly. Breathing, releasing, relaxing here in this spinal twist. And then engaging through the core as we bring the knees all the way back up. And you might draw the knees into the body. You might wrap the arms around them, give yourself a hug, take a gentle rock from side to side if that feels good in your back. And then bringing the feet down to the floor, we're going to find our final resting position here. So the palms might come out from the body. We might send the legs out straight, one leg and the other leg. If that's not comfortable for your back, then feel free to keep the feet flat on the floor. You might snuggle the shoulder blades down the spine, creating a little bit of space between the shoulders and the ears. And maybe take a big inhale through the nose and a gentle sighing exhale through the mouth as you just release the body. And allowing the body now to release into the stability and the holding of the earth underneath you. And you might let the breath deepen, maybe allowing the breath to come down into the belly here. And just taking a couple of moments to feel the movement of the breath, to feel the stability and the support of the earth underneath you, and to once again check in with your body. So how is your body feeling now? And take a little wiggle of fingers and toes and hands and feet. You might stretch the arms out overhead, reaching the arms and legs away from each other, and then draw the knees in towards the body, wrap the arms around them. You can give yourself a hug here, maybe taking a rock from side to side if that feels good. And then we're going to make our way up to a seated position. You might roll onto one side or rock all the way back up, and choose a seated position that feels comfortable for you. We'll take one last movement together as we sweep the arms all the way up and round. Bring the palms to touch overhead and then draw the hands down in front of the heart space. And we close the practice. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.